After my mother-in-law took my ring and dropped it into the drain saying, "You were never a wife to us," my husband didn't move. I watched the water carry it away. Years later, when they sat down at their table, I slid something onto the surface that made every face turn pale, and I met my ex-husband when I was 24. I'd just finished school, moved cities, started my first real job. He was 27, a little older, confident in a way I wasn't. He was quiet, polite, careful with his words. At first, it felt safe. It felt steady. The relationship moved fast. Within a year, we were married. I thought that meant something. I thought it meant we were on the same team. From the beginning, his family made it clear I was not one of them. His mother especially. She never yelled, never said anything outright cruel. At least not at first. But it was always there. Everything I did was different. The way I talked, the way I dressed, the food I made, the holidays I liked, the fact that my parents were divorced. She said it all with a smile. That fake, stretched smile women like her wear like armor. I told my husband, over and over. Every time I came home with a hurt feeling or a story that made me feel like I was shrinking, I told him. His answer was always the same. She didn't mean it like that. You're being sensitive. That's just how she is. He always had an excuse. For her. Never for me. And slowly, I stopped saying anything at all. I lost myself in that house. I'd moved for him, left my job, started freelancing from home. He said it was better that way, less stress, more time together. But we didn't spend more time together. He worked late. He was tired. He was tired a lot. His parents lived 15 minutes away. They were over constantly. Unannounced. I'd be in pajamas, and his mother would walk in with her eyebrows raised like I was the maid she forgot she hired. She'd criticize everything. The curtains, the counters, the way I folded towels. And if I pushed back, even gently, my husband would defend her. Every time. There's one day I'll never forget. I think about it more than I want to admit. It was a Sunday. Rainy. I'd made lunch for the three of us. Just the three, him, me, his mother. He invited her over without telling me. Again, I was wearing my ring. A simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing flashy. We couldn't afford much back then, but I loved it because it was mine. It symbolized something I thought was real. We were cleaning up. I had my hands in the sink, rinsing plates. She was beside me, drying. He was leaning against the counter, scrolling on his phone. She reached out, took my hand without asking, slipped the ring off my finger. I thought maybe she was just looking at it. Then she held it up, tilted her head, said, "This ring? You were never a wife to us." She dropped it, right into the sink. It hit the basin, bounced, and slid straight into the drain. Gone. The water was running. I saw it swirl, felt it hit my hands. I looked at her. Then I looked at my husband. He didn't say anything. He didn't move. He just stood there, looking at the floor. My heart didn't break in that moment. It had already been breaking for months. But this was different. This was the moment I realized I was completely alone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned off the faucet, dried my hands, walked upstairs. I waited until they left. That night, when the house was quiet, I unscrewed the pipe under the sink. My hands were shaking. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was desperate. And there it was, in the little curve of the pipe, caught in some old food and grime. My ring. I didn't tell him I found it. I wrapped it in tissue, put it in a box, and hid it at the back of my closet. From that night on, something in me changed. I stopped hoping he'd speak up for me. I stopped believing he would ever choose me over her. I stayed for another year. I know that sounds insane, but when you're deep in it, leaving feels impossible. I had no job, no savings, no car. He'd made sure of that little by little. But I started planning. I got a part-time job at a diner. Lied and said it was just to get out of the house. I saved every tip, opened a separate account, talked to no one about it. I became invisible in that house, and it was easy. I'd been invisible for a long time already. The day I left, he was on a work trip. I packed 2 bags. Took my laptop, my ID, my documents. I left the furniture, the dishes, the wedding album. I didn't leave a note. I didn't know one. I stayed with a friend. Got into therapy. Got a better job. Rented a small place. I built myself again from pieces. 3 years later, I met someone. Slowly, carefully, I let him in. He asked questions, but he never pushed. He gave me space and time. He let me speak on my own terms. When I told him what happened with the ring, with the sink, with the silence, he didn't say, wow, or that's crazy. He said, that should have never happened to you. And I believed him. We've been married 3 years now. He gave me a new ring, one he designed himself. Simple. Clean. Strong. Just like the life we've built. I never threw the old ring away. I kept it sealed. Not because I needed it, but because one day I knew I'd be ready to do something with it. That day came not long ago. I found out my ex and his family were having an anniversary party at a fancy country club. The kind with long tables, place cards, champagne flutes, and speeches no one wants to hear. It was public. A catered celebration of their perfect little world. I had something to return to them. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I knew I didn't need an invitation. That family had already invited me into hell years ago. This was just a return visit. Daniel, my husband now, didn't ask questions when I told him I wanted to go. He just looked at me and said, "Do you want me to come?" I told him no. This was mine. The event was being held at a country club 2 towns over. Classy place. I dressed simple. Black blouse, dark jeans, clean hair pulled back. Not a spectacle, not a scene. Just someone arriving with purpose. I walked through the front doors like I belonged. I scanned the crowd and spotted them fast. My ex-husband, his mother, his father, his younger sister, the one who used to send me passive-aggressive Pinterest links about how to keep a husband happy. They were all at one long table, laughing, sipping wine, dressed like a magazine ad for wealthy dysfunction. I walked up slowly. I waited until they noticed me. One by one, their faces stopped mid-laugh. My ex turned first. His face went flat, then tight. His mother's smile dropped like someone shut off the power behind her eyes. I didn't say a word. I reached into my bag and pulled out the small box. Inside was a clear resin cube, about the size of a fist, with my old wedding ring suspended inside, caught like a fly in amber. I slid it onto the table, right in front of her wine glass. The same hand that dropped it down the sink now hovered inches away from it. She didn't touch it. No one did. Silence. Thick, heavy silence. Then my ex finally spoke. "What is this?" he asked. Not angry, just confused. Or pretending to be. I looked at him. I hadn't seen him in over 5 years. His face was older, more tired. He looked like a man still waiting for someone else to tell him what to feel. I said quietly, "The ring you watched her throw away." His father cleared his throat like he wanted to interrupt. His mother reached for her wine glass again, but her hand was shaking. "I pulled it out of the drain that night," I said. "You never asked me if I found it." Still, no one spoke. "I kept it," I said. "Not because I wanted to remember you, but because I wanted you to remember me. This is yours." Then I turned to leave. But right before I walked away, I heard her voice. His mother. Cold. Sharp. Just loud enough for me to hear. "You've always been dramatic." I stopped. I turned back, slowly. Looked her dead in the eyes. And that's when the twist came, the part one didn't plan. Because I wasn't the only one at that table with a secret. His sister stood up. Fast. Her chair scraped loud across the floor. Her face was red, tight around the mouth. And she said, almost too loudly, "You threw my ring down the drain, too." The whole table froze. "What?" the mother said, laughing nervously, but the tension was already building. "You think I forgot," the sister said. "You told me I didn't deserve it. You said I was rushing into marriage just to leave you. You threw it down the sink. And she pointed at their father, he told me to stop being emotional." I stepped back, out of the spotlight. But now it wasn't my scene anymore. The table was unraveling. "What are you talking about?" their dad asked, looking around like someone had played a trick on him. "You've done it to all of us," she said, eyes still on her mother. "Control.
Shame.
You destroy what you can't own." And then, like a fuse catching fire, my ex finally spoke again. This time not to me. He said, "You told me she cheated." His voice was shaking. I turned back slightly. I hadn't heard that one before. "You said she cheated," he repeated, staring at his mother. "That's why I stopped defending her. That's why I didn't go after her." I stared at him. I started, but his sister cut in. "She said that to everyone. She said you were unstable, that you stole money, that you were threatening her behind his back." I felt my stomach turn. His mother finally spoke again, her voice sharper now. "You're all being ridiculous. I did what I had to do to protect this family. And that was it." The sentence that cracked the table in two. His sister started crying. His father stood up and walked off. My ex looked like he didn't know where he was anymore. And me? I walked away. I wasn't expecting any of it. Not the truth about the lies, not the sister's breakdown, not the fact that he thought I had cheated on him. It explained everything. Why he pulled away. Why he never asked for my side. But I didn't feel vindicated.
Not yet.
Just hollow. This wasn't the end. Something else was coming. Something still needed to be said or done. I didn't plan to get involved any more than I already had. I meant to walk in, leave that cube on their table like a gravestone, and walk away with whatever dignity I had left. But life doesn't always let you decide when you're done. 2 days after that night, I got a message. Not from my ex. Not from his sister. From his mother. It was short. Just said, "I think it's time we talked. Face to face. Before more damage is done." I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the part that still felt like the 26-year-old girl standing in her kitchen watching her marriage circle the drain, that part wanted answers. I didn't tell Daniel right away. Not because I was hiding it. I just didn't know what I was going to do yet. But before I could decide, his sister messaged me too. She apologized. Said she should have reached out a long time ago. Said she believed me now. That maybe she always did. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. "You're not the only one she's done this to. My husband left me last year." She told him I was cheating too. Same story. Same tone. Same, "I'm just trying to help you" voice. And I believed her when she said you were unstable. I'm so sorry. It hit me harder than I thought it would. Not because I wanted her apology, but because it confirmed something I'd buried for years. That what happened to me wasn't just personal. It was patterned. That woman destroyed people in her own family, like it was sport. And the worst part? They let her. Over and over. A week later, I agreed to meet her. Public place.
Coffee shop.
She wore pearls and beige and had the same stiff smile she always wore, the one that felt like it had teeth behind it. I sat down. She looked at me and said, very calmly, "You've caused a lot of pain." I almost laughed. I said nothing. Just waited. "I understand you've been through things," she continued. "But airing out family matters in public? In front of strangers? That wasn't fair." I let her talk. For once, I was the quiet one.
She leaned in.
"I was protecting my son. You were unstable. You were slipping. You were—" I cut her off.
"No."
"You were lying." Her eyes narrowed. She still didn't flinch. This woman could have been carved from stone. "Why?" I asked. "Why tell him I cheated?" And then, for the first time in all the years I'd known her, she hesitated. She looked down at her coffee, stirred it even though she hadn't added anything. Then she said, "Because you are changing him." I blinked. "What?" "You made him different. He started saying no to us. He started questioning things. He pulled away. We've worked hard to keep this family together. I couldn't let you take him from us." I sat there, stunned. She didn't look angry. She looked tired, bitter, like someone who'd been living inside the same twisted logic for so long, it had calcified. "You didn't see what I saw," she said. He stopped visiting, stopped helping his father with the business, stopped obeying. There it was. The word. Obeying. She hadn't lost a son. She'd lost a soldier. I stood up.
She didn't stop me.
As I turned to leave, she said one last thing, soft but sharp. Careful what truths you keep digging up. You might not like what else you find. And that stayed with me. Because she wasn't just talking about the past. She was warning me about something else. Later that night, I finally told Daniel everything. The message, the meeting, her words. He listened. Then he asked the question I hadn't let myself think. Do you believe her? That there's more? And I didn't want to answer. Because deep down, I already knew. There was more. I'd seen hints. Little cracks that didn't make sense. Photos that had disappeared after the divorce. Letters I never received from friends during those years. A job I'd applied for where the hiring manager had gone cold, almost overnight. I used to chalk it up to bad luck. Miscommunication. But now I was thinking maybe it wasn't luck at all. Maybe she'd gone further than I ever realized. Maybe she didn't just sabotage my marriage. Maybe she sabotaged me. After that meeting, I couldn't sleep. I kept turning her words over in my head. Careful what truths you keep digging up. That wasn't a warning. It was a threat disguised as concern. And worse, it was a clue. I started thinking back about all the things that didn't sit right from those years I was with him. And something clicked. About a month before the ring incident, I had a remote job offer. It was a big deal for me, my first shot at getting back into steady work after years of freelancing from the house. I had a Zoom interview, it went well, they said they'd get back to me in a week. Then nothing. No email. No rejection letter. Just silence. I followed up twice. No reply. Eventually I gave up. Told myself maybe they just went another direction. But now I was wondering. The company still existed. So I reached out again. This time, I wrote from a different email. I said I was helping with a personal project on hiring history and wanted to confirm whether they'd ever interviewed a candidate named my name for a remote communications position in 2017. I didn't expect a reply, but I got one. From someone in HR. They said yes, I had been considered. In fact, I was one of their top 2 choices. But then they received a message from my spouse saying I had been dealing with a mental health crisis and was not in a condition to work full-time. That I wasn't well. That they should not contact me directly. They sent the message as a courtesy. Assumed it was mutual. Said they never heard back from me after that. My chest went cold. I asked if they still had the message.
They did.
They forwarded it to me. It was sent from an old email I hadn't seen in years. An address I recognized. My ex-husband's. The wording was careful, polite, like he was advocating for my well-being. But the subtext was clear. I was unstable. I was struggling. I was not ready for employment. And that email, that one short message, killed that job opportunity before I even had a chance. I sat there shaking, staring at the screen. He hadn't just stood by while his mother destroyed me. He helped. Quietly.
Subtly.
Like always. And I started to wonder how many times this had happened. How many jobs, friends, family connections. How many moments had been stolen or redirected without me ever knowing. I wasn't paranoid. I was finally seeing the pattern. Later that night, I told Daniel. He asked if I wanted to confront my ex. I said no. Not yet. Because then something else happened. I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It said, "She did it to me too.
Can we talk?"
It was his ex-fiancée. The one he dated before me. The one he said cheated. The one his mother claimed was emotionally unstable and manipulative. We'd never met. But I remembered her name. I messaged back. We arranged a call. When we finally spoke, her voice cracked almost immediately. She said she'd been following the fallout from the anniversary party on Facebook. That someone from the family had leaked photos of the scene, the resin cube, the tension, the sister crying. People were whispering. She said she left him 2 years before he met me. Not because she cheated, but because she found out his mother had been reading her emails, deleting messages from job recruiters, changing appointments, And when she confronted him about it, he defended his mother. Sound familiar? She told me she once caught him on the phone with her therapist, pretending to be her emergency contact and fishing for details. I felt sick. She told me the night she left him, his mother showed up at her apartment with a priest. Not a joke. A priest. Said they wanted to pray the darkness out of her. Asked her why she never warned me. Why she didn't say anything.
She said she tried.
She sent me a letter. A handwritten letter explaining everything. Telling me to be careful. I never got it. She mailed it to the house 2 weeks after our wedding. And suddenly I remembered something. A small moment I'd forgotten until right then. I was sitting at the kitchen table when my ex came in holding a thick envelope. He looked at it, said, "Probably junk," and tossed it straight into the trash. I didn't think anything of it. Just a pile of mail. Who cares? Now I know. He knew. He didn't just lie. He chose to keep me in the dark. Again. And again. And again. I hung up the call and sat in silence. My husband walked in, saw my face, and didn't say anything.
Just sat beside me.
Let me breathe. And then I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to confront them. I was going to expose them. Not with revenge. Not with screaming. Not with scenes. With truth. Because it wasn't just my story anymore. It never had been. After I spoke to his ex-fiancée, something hardened inside me. For years I'd been a ghost in their story. A quiet thing they could erase or rewrite. No more. I started collecting everything. Every email, every text, every screenshot of my ex's old accounts I'd saved. Copies of the HR message from that job. Copies of the messages from his sister. Names, dates, times. Everything. I wasn't interested in just telling my story. I wanted it documented. In a way no one could twist. It took me 3 months. I filed formal records requests with the companies where my applications had gone silent. Some responded. Others didn't. But the picture grew clearer. They had interfered. Not once. Not twice. Dozens of times. They didn't just ruin my marriage. They deliberately isolated me financially, socially, and mentally. They'd done the same to his sister. To his ex. Maybe to others. It was a pattern of control disguised as family loyalty. And I realized something else. I had been complicit. Not in their actions, but in my silence. Every time I swallowed my own voice. Every time I stayed. Every time I convinced myself it wasn't that bad. I wasn't just a victim. I was an enabler too. That was the hardest part to face. But it also gave me clarity. Because vengeance isn't just about making someone pay. It's about reclaiming yourself. So, I did something I never would have done back then. I went public. I wrote everything down in a 15-page document. Dates, times, evidence. No adjectives. No opinions. Just facts. I attached every file, every screenshot, every testimony from his sister and his ex-fiancé. Then I sent it to 3 places. My ex's employer. He worked at a firm where character mattered. The board of directors at his father's business. He'd been promised a stake. And finally, to every extended family member whose email I could find. No commentary. Just, these are the facts. Decide for yourselves. And then I waited. The first to break was his sister. She called me, sobbing. Said people were finally seeing what she'd been living under for years. She'd moved out. She'd cut contact with their mother. She was rebuilding. Then, I got a call from his father's business. A lawyer. They wanted to confirm documents. They were reviewing his role. Then, the big one, a public post from his mother's church group. The same group she'd used as a stage for her perfect family persona. They'd seen the files. The screenshots of her messages. The letters she'd written pretending to be me, warning an employer not to hire me. They expelled her from the leadership team. She lost her influence. Her network. Her platform. But the one I didn't expect was my ex. He emailed me. Not angry. Not even defensive. Just lost. He said, I didn't know how to stop her. He said, I thought you'd leave anyway. He said, I'm sorry. And I didn't answer. Because I wasn't writing for him. A month later, I saw it on LinkedIn. He'd been let go from his firm. No new job listed. His father's business had scrubbed his name from their website. His mother had gone silent online. I wasn't happy. Not in the way I'd imagined. There was no fireworks moment. No movie music swelling. Just a quiet sense of release. Then one night I pulled the resin cube out of its box. I took it to the ocean.
Daniel came with me.
We stood at the edge of the water. I held the cube up, the ring glinting inside under the moon. For years it had been a symbol of everything they'd done. Everything I'd lost. Everything I'd let happen to me. I threw it as far as I could. It hit the water with a soft splash and sank out of sight. I didn't keep anything from that life. Not the ring. Not the emails. Not the weight. When we walked back to the car, Daniel took my hand. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost. For the first time, I felt like I had buried them. Not with dirt, not with fire, but with truth. And that was my revenge. They built their power on silence. I destroyed it with my voice. And I left them there, sitting at their own empty table, exactly where they belonged.